I'm Rick Weibel. You're watching Nick Drinks. Please watch our video sampling through American Fifth Spirits on nickdrinks.com.
Nick Drinks.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Nick Drinks. I'm your host, Nick Britsky, and we are joined by Rick Weibel, who is the founder and head distiller over at American Fifth in Lansing, Michigan. Hello, sir.
Hey, how are you?
Thanks for coming out here.
Thanks for having me.
So I visited your space way back when. I've been there a couple times actually, because we did a class and we did some other neat things. What has changed at American Fifth over the years?
Well, we still have our extensive cocktail program. We update 10 cocktails every month on the 5th of every month for obvious reasons. So we now have over 600 cocktails in our database that we're working with and have developed. Other than that, the big thing for us was we rebranded and repackaged all of our stuff almost a year ago. It'll be a year in April.
Yeah, so this is some beautiful labeling. The gold foil is really nice. I have to imagine this is not a cheap label either.
No, not at all. Nothing is cheap.
Nothing is ever cheap. And your location is pretty great because you're basically downtown Lansing. You're across the street from Lugnuts.
Lugnuts and now the soccer team. There's a professional soccer team.
I wasn't even following on that. So there's a whole line of products that we have to sample, but really quickly, why don't you go through your full line? If someone were to go to the distillery today, what could they pick up?
Well, we have our vodka. Okay. We're down to 4 gins now.
Only 4.
Only 4. And then we have 13 whiskeys out now with another 12 coming. Okay. So some of these things, the wheat whiskey, our signature malt and bourbon have both been out for a while. We do a seasonal release, an Irish style whiskey we called Irish whiskey, and then obviously here's the gin as well.
And there's an absinthe as well?
Absinthe, we do a coffee liqueur, a bourbon cream liqueur. We have a Fernet coming out.
Neat.
Yes.
So that gives you a very wide palette for cocktails. Do you pretty much stay only with your spirits, or will you venture into others?
Within our tasting room?
Yes.
Yeah, we can only have our spirits in our tasting room.
Interesting. And there are some kind of crazy rules when it comes to tasting like that. So you can only do that in your room, or is that personal choice? You can only do that?
Correct.
Okay.
As I understand a small distiller's license, we are only allowed to serve what we make.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So that gives you this great depth of different flavorings you can use, and obviously non-alcoholic you can mix as well.
Absolutely. And we have a short attention span, so we always like making new things.
So I encourage you to check that place out if you've ever been. They have a great distillery kind of right next door. You can see all the big, bright, beautiful machinery. It's great.
Thank you.
All right, so what should we start with?
We should probably start with our straight bourbon.
Okay.
So this is the bourbon that we won the gold medal with at San Francisco World Spirits Competition last year. Okay. And then it's just aged longer. So this is 25 months, and this is a 30-gallon barrel. So we're using a little bit smaller barrels.
So not only do you have a bourbon, but you have a straight bourbon.
Correct.
And that means 2 years?
Yes, it does.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, thank you for this.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow. Right off the bat, you have a really great strong, you get some barrel notes. You definitely get a bourbon smell.
I'm getting a little apple right now, too.
I am getting some apple, too. Okay. Very full flavor. I get a little bit of heat. Definitely get a lot of like wood and barrel characteristics of it. Is this 40 or is this higher?
This is 90
45.
proof.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me what kind of, so one of the great things on the back of the packaging is they do these little flavor profiles, these little flavor wheels right here. I don't know if I can get that closer to my camera. Talk about the idea you came up with here and then what we're tasting in this one.
Well, so the idea, we originally put this on the back of our gin labels. I love gin. Gin is my favorite spirit.
And gin specifically, you called out the different botanicals.
Correct.
So that made a lot of sense.
Yes.
But then there's not a lot of ingredients in bourbon.
Right. But there's typical tasting notes. And
Absolutely,
so we go around and, you have the body and the linger and the dark fruit and oak, so on and so forth. And then this graph just shows the intensity of what myself and Cars, our distiller, think of it when we taste it.
So, and what's neat about that then is if you say, oh, I love gin, or let's say I love Irish whiskey, but I haven't had a lot of experience with bourbon. You can kind of take the flavor profile of this and compare it to these, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And that goes into my strategy, which is people need to know more about what we're doing in order to appreciate it.
Yeah.
So back to the gin thing, a lot of people don't like gin. And so the more that they know about it, I think the better chances they are going to pick up a bottle and take it home and drink it.
Which is tough because typically when you first open a distillery, gin and vodka are the first thing you make. And so to kind of encourage someone to try gin, do you have any tricks up your sleeve?
Just put it in their mouth.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a very steady flow of people through our tasting room that say, I don't like gin, but I like this gin. And ours is American style, so we turn that juniper down. And it's just more appealing to the American palate.
Okay, very good. So then moving on to this guy, what kind of big flavors are we getting from here?
Well, according to this.
According to you and this.
Okay.
Hopefully the same.
Yeah. I get the honey aspect. There's a little bit of nuttiness, I think a little walnut perhaps. And obviously the apple is jumping out right now for some reason. Could be temperature.
The pucker party that we had.
Yeah.
When you are aging this, tell me about are you using American barrels, new barrels, all those good things?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
White American charred oak barrels, 30 gallons, like I said. And this sat 25 months. So just over being 2 years.
So, and with a 30 gallon, that is a little bit smaller than kind of your traditional whiskey barrel.
Right, which is 53.
53. So therefore, you're going to get a quicker maturation with that?
Slightly.
Okay.
What we've learned since we're pulling some other whiskeys is we pulled them a little bit too early because we were afraid that the smaller barrels would
Too much.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. But now I have a 100% Michigan Cherrywood smoked single malt that's been in almost 3 years, and it's super iodine-y and everything. But that oak still is just nicely integrated. It's not too much yet.
So because you're not calling this single barrel per se, could you mix this with some corn whiskey? You'd lose the straight, maybe. Yes, no?
Yeah. There's blended straights, but then I think everything has to be straight in order to be qualified as that.
Okay.
But we're not doing any blending. If we have 3 barrels ready,
there you go.
Those are the 3 barrels that go into that batch.
I love it. So this is just sold at the distillery, or do you also have it in shelves?
It is being released to distribution in the beginning of May, the first week in May.
Okay, so probably we should be releasing this probably before that, so we should be good.
Okay.
So you can kind of go wait in line.
Yeah, shelf price will be $49.96.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Okay.
And it's all Michigan grain, 4 grains, all sourced from here in Michigan.
So 4 grains, talk about that.
63.
So corn is dominant.
Yep, 63% corn, 20% wheat, 12% malt, 5% rye.
Would you consider this a wheated bourbon then?
No, to me, 30-ish% is where it needs to be.
And that's closer to this guy on the end over here?
No, this is the same. Oh, no, this is 100% wheat.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a whiskey. There you go. That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So we do a high rye bourbon as well, which has 30% rye.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as you get more and more into bourbons, that is some of the fun things to look at the mash bill. Not always are they shared, but most of the solid producers will share that. So
yeah, the weird thing on the label that TTB required for the high rye was they required us to put the mash bill on there.
Is that a new requirement?
I couldn't find any verbiage on it anywhere in the TTB code.
That's Michigan, or is that federal?
That's federal.
That's federal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
God, I'd love to see more of that. That'd be cool. All right. Well, thank you for tasting this.
Certainly.
Where should we go next?
Let's head to our signature rye.
Okay. And is this 100% rye, or is this a little bit of a
This
blend?
is 60% rye and 40% malt.
Oh, okay. So malt, typically it is the spirit you use in Scotch. So with this, you're going to get a little more.
Where the spice that is typically what you associate with rye is going to be turned down just slightly, and then there's a warm malty finish that kind of lingers through the end there.
Interesting. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, definitely. You do get kind of that signature Scotch note, but at the same time, you get a little spice. Oh, is that neat? And a little more mellow than this guy too. So we're still at 90 proof.
Yeah, for some reason, our ryes mature a little bit faster in the barrels than the bourbons do.
Oh, that's cool. That is really cool. And I definitely get what you're saying, how that malt kind of bounces out that spice a little bit. Because there's still that characteristic spice, but it's just kind of, just dialed down, just a hair.
Yeah.
Oh, is that fun?
So the interesting thing is,
I really like that.
the reason that we chose these 3 is because each one of these won a silver medal at ADI.
Which is just recently, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. 2 days before now. And,
So we're recording this March, middle of March, and so you just recently heard the news. So congratulations!
Thank you very much. And this was the highest rated Michigan rye out of the competition, and we get tasting notes back. Every single one of them said this isn't spicy enough, this isn't rye-y enough, and so we got dinged because of it. And it was very specifically not supposed to be that, because most ryes are going to be 95 or 100% rye, and so if I had a chance to explain that, I think we would have probably got a better score.
But so with beers, there's very specific styles. And when you get judged on them in beer competitions, you're like, you're not an IPA, you're not a this, you're not a that. When you go into a competition like that, does it say rye has to be this, rye has to be that?
I'm going by the federal definition, which is rye has to be 51% rye.
Okay.
So.
And you met that.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Because, yeah, we're 60-40.
So if you didn't enter this in the rye, could you enter this in a different, like a more general whiskey category, or?
I don't think so. I don't think they have that opportunity.
So there you go. So you've kind of made your own then, maybe.
Yeah, which is why it says signature.
This is great. I think this is very unique. You have 19 months on here. Mm-hmm. So that is both products that
They're co-fermented, distilled, everything the same. And, yep, these are 30-gallon barrels as well.
Never heard the term co-fermented. So basically, you distill them separately and then mix them together?
No, we mill and mash, we mash everything together, ferment it all together, distill it all together, and then age it all together.
Okay. Do you notice a difference if you do them separately?
Yes, because we've done some test batches, like the signature malt that we came up with. We actually did a bunch of malts separately and then kind of blended them to create the recipe. Okay. It's just disjointed a little bit. Not that we did a lot, but it's certainly better when everything's made at one time.
And I think when you kind of think of like chili, if you were to cook everything separately and blend it together, you wouldn't have that same flavor. So maybe there is something to be said about kind of cooking it all together.
I would think so.
Neat. That's very fun. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
All right. So last, we're moving on to maybe dessert.
This is dessert. So this is a salted caramel cream liqueur. Okay. Based on our licensing, we cannot call it a salted caramel White Russian, but that is what it is. And it is a blatant copy of our most popular cocktail ever out of our tasting room.
Okay, let's dissect that. Why can't you call it a White Russian?
Because White Russian is a cocktail.
Okay.
And there is a different federal license and a different state license that would require us, we would have to have in order to make a ready-to-drink cocktail.
Okay.
Right. So this is just a cream base that we buy. We use a local coffee house, makes a coffee concentrate for us.
Okay.
Blue Owl out of Lansing. Mm-hmm. And then we add some caramel flavoring and a little bit of salt, and this is it.
So cheers on that.
Cheers.
Well, you can always see the great viscosity on that. There is some kind of spicy notes, but is that just the salted caramel?
Yes.
Because it's like my nose first went to nutmeg, and I'm like, no, there's no nutmeg in there. Boy,
yeah, it's going to be the caramel.
Yeah. So I was expecting it to be a little more viscous. It's not, but it does have a little kind of cling towards the back when you're getting, almost that really toasted caramel, and probably the coffee too, as well as kind of amping that up as well. Nice, not cloying at all. That's good. That's very good.
Thank you.
So the trick with creams, though, whereas something like this could be open almost forever.
Correct.
What's the shelf life on this guy?
As long as it's in the refrigerator, it'll last 12 to 18 months, 16 months.
So pretty long.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not in the fridge. You're taking a chance.
I want to say 6 months. So it's still not a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And this is actually early packaging. So I'm in the process of getting a UV protected shrink wrap over this as well. So that'll help extend that life as well.
So what's interesting, if you look at some of the traditional eggnogs, most of them were aged. And so you were putting booze and egg together, and you're like, no, why would you ever leave egg out like that? But it's really the booze that's helping preserve this. So that's basically what you're doing here.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah. So you got a fairly low proof on that, but basically, kind of enough to kind of keep everything together.
Correct.
And very sippable and easy to drink.
Yeah.
So when did this guy come out?
Came out February.
Okay. So you haven't had a good holiday season yet for this?
No. And that we planned on getting it out last year, but we ran into issues with that shrink wrap.
Okay. And I think that it was worth it because some of your packaging looks great. So I appreciate you taking the time to kind of get it right.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can people find more about you?
Of course, website, AmericanFifthSpirits.com, Facebook, any social media, we're just American Fifth.
Okay.
And then we get out and we do events. We're coming up on summer, so there's going to be festivals and stuff. We're pretty much booked almost every weekend this summer. So hopefully you'll be able to see us. We do cocktails at all those events. It's a lot of fun. And are you typically pretty busy at the tasting room? Yes. Yes and no. Yes. Okay. Yes and no. certainly with baseball season coming up, and then
probably football season, yeah.
Football, soccer.
Yeah.
We're expecting a pretty big summer.
So if someone was going to make the trek to Lansing and wanted to make sure they could get a spot, when would you recommend is a good time?
Well, anytime during the week.
Okay.
We open up at 4 o'clock during the week, and then Saturdays we open up at noon. So anytime between noon and probably 6,
Okay.
It's relatively chill.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you, sir.
If you like more of Nick Drinks, you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/NickDrinks. You can find us at nickdrink.com, as well as nickdrinks.com, spelled out for Instagram and Facebook. Thanks so much. Thanks so much to Rick.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time. 37 of these later. You slowly start getting your process.
Yeah.
Because you forget to do your audio once, you forget to do your sound once, you forget to do your sync once.